Disclaimer.
History is not safe for work, and neither is HistoricHole.
This podcast is uncensored and contains explicit language.
Welcome to HistoricHole. My name is David, and as always, I am joined by Jason and Michael.
Hello.
Hello. And we here at HistoricHole, we take a funny look at history. Sometimes people, sometimes events, sometimes it's just who knows. I don't know. What are we doing?
Today we will be discussing Neil Armstrong.
So a person.
A person, yes. And some events.
Oh.
Yeah.
Usually people are involved with events.
Yeah, maybe. No, not always.
Sometimes it's
You have
right
geological events.
shit. That's true.
People aren't involved in those at all.
You got me.
Mr. Armstrong was born August 5th, 1930 in Wapakoneta, Ohio.
Sure.
Yes. His
It meant spaceman and Ohioan.
his mother was Viola Louise and his father was Stephen Koenig Armstrong.
Viola or like Viola?
Viola.
Viola. Like Viola Davis.
Viola. Violin Davis.
His name is Niall. Nihilism is what Neil was short for. I'm not meant for the earth. I need to get to that space.
I meant for the cold blackness of space.
They call me Nihilism Armstrong.
He had a brother, Dean, and a sister, June, both younger. He was the oldest kid.
Of course.
But Dad was an auditor for the state of Ohio, so he just traveled around the state.
Parents really like those single-syllable names, huh?
Yeah, right.
Back
Neil,
then.
Dean, June. He just wanted to shout a single
Matt
syllable
and Mike.
to summon the child.
Jim.
So
But Jim is short for James, which I guess is still
still pretty
some
short.
of those names are
they
short.
somehow
that's still
Yeah.
one syllable though,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, like I said,
James.
yeah.
Is that two syllables?
I said Jim.
But that's short for, isn't it? For,
Well, it's short
yes,
for
it's
James.
Short for James, yes.
No, it's short for Jimathan.
But like, what's like Neil's not short for
Jimothy.
anything. Dean's not short for anything. June's not short for anything. All those are actual, just like single syllable names, straight up. What you got to say about that?
We here have
We're
I think you two are
multi-syllabled.
two. I think you guys are two syllables. I don't know what's going on with my name. Don't even try to spell it. It makes no sense.
Michael, isn't that two syllables?
Yes.
Well, depending on how you pronounce it in my native tongue.
Uh-huh. So for 14 years of his life, they just traveled around while Dad was doing business for the state. 16 towns in 14 years. He developed a passion for flying quite young. Saw his first air show at 2 years old.
They threw him in the air. As the car crashed, he was thrown in the windshield. His first air show. I was doing I Wanted to Fly. One of my first memories.
At the age of 5, he and his father took a trip in a Ford Trimotor, which was just like a little civilian plane you see flying around sometimes. Eventually, in 1944, they finally stopped moving and ended where they began in Wapakoneta, where he attended Bloom High School.
Once the World War II was at its height, I knew my decision was to go back to Wapakoneta.
Where apparently they had a class where you learned how to fly planes, so he was just doing that in high school.
I assume they taught people how to fly planes back in the day.
Well, they were near an airfield, so I guess it was just easy access.
Just
so.
like I assume they had like car driving classes too. It's like, oh, this is a strange place that had plane flying classes.
I mean, it was a school.
Yeah.
They do
It's like-
teach you things.
Yeah, it's like, whoa, it's a strange institution of learning.
He had his flying license by the age of 16 before he even got his driver's license.
Or could drink a beer.
Imagine that you're taking a girl out on a date, but you have to take the plane instead. Just be like,
We're
hey.
just taxis down the street.
Yeah, you could. I mean,
Those bloomers were
got
dropping.
a little, one of them Cessnas, one of them tiny ones. You probably could pull it off. It's cul-de-sac.
I'm sure Neil
You got a little bit of runway there. Running up to it. Can taxi.
Neil's going.
But that would be impressive, wouldn't that?
Of course, Neil was probably going up and down many a runway back in the day, because he probably didn't. He's like, oh, I know I technically only have a license for this, but I can totally fly this giant plane. No one else can, and no one else is here because there's no security. It's back in like the 40s.
Imagine being a dad and seeing your daughter just like take it away in a plane
In a plane.
by some teenager.
She's literally thousands of feet off the ground.
It's like, have a good night.
Have her back by 10.
Back by 10.
Usually dads back then were so drunk thinking about all the horrible things they did in the trenches in World War II.
They didn't care.
Thinking about Billy.
The trenches.
Always
World
about
War
Billy.
II.
There was mainly more trenches in World War I, but I'm sure there was a trench or two
Oh, yeah.
in World War II.
Sometimes you had to dig out, get dug
Little
in.
foxhole.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a few trenches.
When he's not, when he wasn't learning to fly, he was also in the Scouts. He became an Eagle Scout.
Oh. Anyone can do that nowadays.
You first man on the moon, Neil Armstrong, was an Eagle Scout. Color me fucking shocked. You know what I mean?
Wow. What was he like, good at things?
It's like Mr. Overachiever over here.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm going to learn to fly at 16. And then
Actually, you're telling me he was the first man on the moon. Wait.
it's like he helped 10 ladies across the street in 1 year.
With one arm. At one time.
In 1 day.
It was his yearly quota. He never went to that
He
street
knocked it out in
again.
1 day.
At age 17 in 1946, he graduated, and thanks to the Holloway Plan, which was sort of a educational incentive brought to you in part by the U.S. Navy, where they'll pay for your college.
Sponsored by.
Where they'll,
Brought to you in part by.
where they'll pay for your college. And so the plan was you go to school for a couple of years, and then you serve for 3, and then you finish up we'll pay for the rest of your schooling if you want to continue.
Love of government dangling that carrot.
Still more money to pay if you want to finish.
Hey, here's a little bit of education. If you go potentially die, we'll give you the rest.
Well, you got to pay us for it, but we'll give you the rest of the education.
You'll pay for it in blood, but
So
sweat and tears and trauma. That's where we live over and over and
We're
drive
going
your
to shoot
family
you into
crazy.
space.
Well, I guess for most of them, they didn't get that treatment. but
That's true.
They probably sad story for a
That's
lot
what they
of
call
us.
it, the greatest generation. Oh, wait.
So he chose Purdue University, where he started studying aeronautical engineering.
Purdue?
Yes. And
I'm surprised they had that field back then,
well, he was thinking
considering.
about going to MIT, but then he watched a Purdue football game where they trounced the Buckeyes. So
This makes
he was
me
just
like Neil
I'll go to
Armstrong.
them.
The Ohio State Buckeyes.
You know what? Anyone who chooses a school for sports, I like them. That's the American way. That's
was
what
the-
we do.
And he was the second person in his family to attend college. So sort of a big deal.
Who was the first?
He's making a lot of
But
people
not as
proud.
big as the first.
Yeah, who was the
You know.
first?
Neil.
He made it one time and then he failed. And then
He was an
came and
overachiever
he
in
got
like
back.
every other way, but
he was
second
like,
place.
I'm going to flunk out of college.
I
and
feel like
get
it was
back
probably
into
his
college.
dad, if anything, seeing as he was a state auditor. I feel
Oh, I
like.
thought, yeah, well, in Michael's narrative, his dad was a drunk.
Well, everyone was a drunk back then. Have you seen Mad Men?
No. Yeah.
Yes, Mad Men, the accurate portrayal of the past.
Oh, come on. It was a documentary. That's what I was
It
told.
was a time machine.
So
We heard the Mad Men.
2 years go by. January 26th, 1949. The U.S. Navy's like, guess what? Time to go. So he starts. He enters the Navy. Goes down to Pensacola, the naval station down in Pensacola, and starts just flying things.
He flew that pin across the room.
He soloed
Fly anything.
soloed for the first time September 9th, 1949.
Solo September.
And then he started doing some aircraft carrier docking with other carriers. The first one being
He was lowering aircraft carriers onto other aircraft carriers. Carrier docking. My God, they said it couldn't be done. Oh, the water starts dripping. Neil Armstrong flying a Cessna. Just
first
like my
one
daddy taught me.
the first one he landed on was the USS Cabot. And he just moved around. I think the next he went to Corpus Christi in Texas and sort of just did the same thing, just flying around.
He's just flying planes, you know.
Yeah.
He's good at it. Something he's good at. Is he excelling at? Now, is he like head and shoulders above the competition here, like the other test pilots and stuff, or
Yeah, he's
just running the mill?
yeah, he's just
Average dude. I thought he was Mr. Overachieving.
Oh no, yeah. I
Running
mean, he
the
was breaking
mill.
records and stuff.
Okay, yeah,
like running the
that's
mill.
what- that's
Like,
what
he's
I'm-
not that bad.
Well, that's what I'm looking for here.
But
It's like, what's
this
he,
is
he's
just
just like, well, he's just flying around. I'm like, well, give us details. What's he doing? Is he breaking records? Yeah, like that's what we want to know.
No, in the beginning, he didn't want to,
Make everyone look
make
bad.
everyone look bad. Yeah.
It's like,
But once,
So he hid his genius from the world.
I mean, and everyone thought he was, a technical genius because he'd been studying fucking aeronautical engineering. So he knew the ins and outs the technical way. Whereas all the other pilots were kind of, they didn't like it because you're supposed to feel the plane. You're supposed to feel it.
oh, he's one of those analytics guys
Yeah.
when it came to flying. It's like some people, it's like sometimes you just feel it. I don't understand why this
too
guy,
much-
he can throw the ball the way he does. It's like Tom Brady doesn't have any of like the actual records. It's like, but damn it, that guy wins. It's like neither did Neil.
It's too mechanical. You got to feel the plane. But no, he was just great at it.
He built the moon so he could land on it. How talented he was.
In 1950.
What the fuck is that?
He starts heading, him and his unit start heading towards Korea because that starts going on. Korean War. Yeah. But while they're passing Hawaii, he's just taking flights to Hawaii, just to kill time.
Always making
Wait.
like a sharp turn, like, oh, there it is. Sees the hula girls. He's like, oh, I just can't quit them.
While in Korea, he was in Korea till 1953, and while there, he did 78 missions, one of which he was an armed escort for a transport, and he was making a low bombing on this town. And
Wait. So is he like an escort or?
there was a transport going on.
So is he like
He was
guarding
escorting
and
the
be like,
transport.
can you kill them while also guarding the president? I'm Neil Armstrong. I can do both at the same time.
In the direction the transport was going was
Might as well
enemy
send-
movement.
Might as well set all the planes.
Take
Let's
them
not
out.
divert the important person, the VIP, in any sort of way. Might as well kill people.
No. Take them out. But there was a booby trap between the hills. The Koreans were just putting up lines to catch planes.
A bunch of barbed wire between all the mountains. Shit!
Well,
How do these Asians do that?
he clipped 6 feet off of his wing. There was anti-aircraft fire coming at him. He wasn't hit though.
And anti-land fire as well. They threw everything at Neil.
He was able to still fly it into friendly territory, but he couldn't land because one of the wings was ripped off. So he had to eject. But when he ejected, he intended to crash land over the sea and have the Navy pick him up in the water. But when he ejected, the wind caught his parachute and flung him back onto land. And he had to hide out in the jungle until his friend arrived in a Jeep, drove to come get him.
That's like some Greek god shit. No. I know physically if you escaped, but I'm the god of wind. Back into the jungle. I like how he could fly the plane without 6 feet of wing, but he couldn't land it.
Right? He's just...
He was a flyer. He wasn't a lander. That's why he wasn't the one piloting the thing that landed. That was Buzz.
No, he was.
Here,
Oh, he was? I was just kidding.
Yeah.
I'm willing to bet this is a fabrication because he's American hero Neil Armstrong. Of course, he's, gonna have some, I guess heroic story. He's going to, save the transport, and then he gets shot down. He's hiding the jungle. Really, what it was, he probably bombed napalmed some fucking children, and they're like, we got to cover this up. So, Neil, you were stuck in the jungle last night. You were no part of this.
He ejected. They found him like drunk, like in a bar.
Yeah, with stuff.
He's just like, you know what I did? Like exploding behind him. He's like, eh.
Yeah, with some hookers,
Like
prostitutes, high on opium.
Just put a bag over
They're just
his
like,
head.
Neil, get yourself together, his friend. Yeah, and that's his friend who picked him up in the Jeep.
It probably
in the
is.
story.
And he
It's the one
probably-
that got him
yeah.
coffee, splashing water in his face. So I got you cleaned up.
Exactly. You know what they did? They splashed the coffee. He takes me to like
Splash
cliff.
some
And they point to
coffee.
the moon. Yeah, oh yeah. See, water wasn't good enough. They're throwing hot coffee into his face. He's like drinking some of it.
It's opium strong.
And they point to the moon. He's like, he's like, you want to land on that fucking thing?
You gotta get your shit together.
Yeah, stop napalming villages.
HistoricHole.
We were there.
He gets released from, then he comes back, and continues college.
And that was
Goes back to Purdue.
It was a spring break for the ages.
And he comes back and then just throw a kick-ass party.
Joins a frat.
Delta guy.
No, it's the Phi Delta Theta frat.
No.
And he just lived at the
Phi
frat
Delta
house.
Theta, get it right.
Yeah. Just lived at the frat house. He was dating some sorority chicks.
He was Van Wilder, Van Armstrong.
In fact, who do you think the movie's based on?
It's true.
He wrote and directed some plays, including an adaptation of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs.
He did Hamlet, but it was just him. He played every character
A one-man play.
of Hamlet.
He also played baritone in the marching band.
Yeah, he had a
course.
successful singer-songwriter
Oh yeah,
career.
yeah. He had a nice radio voice baritone.
And he got, brought his GPA up to a 4.8 out of 6, and graduated in 1955
6.
with a bachelor's of science in aeronautical engineering.
Auto-tune. Is that what you're about to say? He actually got that too. That was one of his many minors.
While dating one sorority chick, he met another who he ended up marrying.
Duh.
Her name was Janet Elizabeth Sheeran. They married in
Damn it, Janet.
January 28th of 1956.
No relation to Ed.
But after, in 1955, he applied.
The Sheeran.
Although, if you look at Neil Armstrong and Ed Sheeran,
You know what? To be
you
honest,
know what? I kind of see it.
they both are really good singers.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Both had red
It was
hair.
the instrument baritone. He wasn't singing. It was like a horn.
Doesn't matter.
He can do both. It doesn't matter. You don't know.
No, the singer.
No, I do know.
He was under a pseudonym for the singer. We don't know. It's not common knowledge.
Ed Sheeran's Neil
That's
Armstrong.
just inside. That's inside. Yeah, exactly.
I'm sorry.
After graduation, he applied for the National Advisory Committee for Aeronautics. Goes out there. Oh, by the way, he's also in the Navy Reserves right now. So he is randomly getting called off to go just fly planes with the Navy. He doesn't do anything active, but he doesn't. He resigns from that in 1960, but that's jumping ahead.
They had to put him in the reserves because it's like every time Neil went in, napalm fell everywhere.
No one napalm. They called him Napalm Neil. No one napalmed quite like Neil. But we had to keep. It was Black Ops. We had to keep it under wraps.
Nobody napalmed like Neil. Nobody sang like Neil. Nobody landed on the moon like Neil. We all love Neil. None of it rhymes, but that was the story of Neil.
And so he
Nobody loved like him. He loved us all.
He starts there July 1955. And actually,
We were in the sorority.
Janet left school to move there with him, and
Of course.
she never finished school, which she later regretted.
I'm sure she did.
But then they also had a kid named, I do believe the first one was named
Rock.
Eric.
Just a child, it's like, okay, that's a little understandable.
And so while at Edwards Air Force Base,
Ed Edwards.
he started just test piloting a lot of shit.
You see that over there?
You want to fly
Fly
it?
it. Yeah.
Over 200 different types
Can't
of planes.
even fly that. That's the street cleaner. Neil stares. 'Cause, yeah, from what I've heard, like Buzz Aldrin, like he always spoke a lot, like was very loquacious. Like he's the one always giving all the.
Oh,
interviews.
Neil
Like,
was
Neil exactly.
quiet.
He's just like, yeah, he's like, I'm gonna fly that lawnmower. He spoke with his flying skills.
Yeah, very reticent man,
Well, don't most artists speak through their work?
right? He test piloted such planes as the F-100 Super Sabre, the F-101 Voodoo, the Starfighter, a Thunder
Yeah,
Chief,
exactly.
All great planes.
Lockheed 233 Shooting Star,
Oh, that was
Fantastic.
A good one.
and the Boeing KC-135 Strato
I'm sure
Tanker.
you've heard of it. It failed a few times.
The Strato Tanker sounds
Yeah.
like a behemoth.
The Strato tank.
The thing about doing any sort of test piloting, test driving, any of it, like these guys, I mean, you have to be you're a certain breed. There's a certain cut. You're cut from a certain cloth.
You're like, I
I'm
just wanna go
serious.
fast.
I'm fucking serious right now because these motherfuckers.
He's
like,
getting real.
Adrenaline junkies that these guys are, and that was the whole thing. Like the movie The Hurt Locker with Renner being like fucking junkie, finding all the bombs in like Iraq and
Seriously,
shit,
yeah.
IEDs. It's the same sort of thing. Like it's just this adrenaline rush that you get from doing stuff that you could potentially die from. And so, like,
It was more likely to die from the shit they were doing than some of these other adrenaline junkies nowadays. Strapping yourself to basically a fucking rocket. Just like, yeah, you're gonna go fast.
the thing is like, there has to be a lot of trust between the test pilot / driver and the engineer, because obviously it's like you're putting them in something that could potentially kill them. You have,
And what was great was Neil was an engineer.
well, right?
So
That's
he
why a
could
lot
just-
of those guys were.
And so that's the point I was getting at, was like this kind of put Neil in a different category than a lot of these
A
test
different
guys.
stratosphere, if you will.
Yeah.
And then he started test driving test piloting the X-15, which was a rocket-powered plane. And he
You
did
can't name
7
something.
runs. He did 7 runs with that one. He was just breaking all kinds of records with that.
Yeah, you can't name
Smash
something
records.
the X-15 and like it not be sweet and fast and like breaking records. This is the X-15. It's like, I'll fly it. It's like, what do you know? I'll fly it.
On his 6th mission with the X-15, he was 200,000 miles above the Earth, and
You've heard of it.
he was coming back down, and he was trying to test something with how the plane would fuck up if he held it a certain way, and then it did. So he started spinning out, regained control, but he overshot his landing zone
Physics are a bitch.
because of how fast he was coming in. He was coming in at Mach 3. So
Just like the Razor.
So he overshot by about 5 miles and then just swooped around.
He was
and then
shaving the earth.
just missing a bunch of trees that were growing at the edge of the base that he just landed over.
Some guy's watering them. Thank God I forgot to water them yesterday, or they would have been just high enough to kill Neil Armstrong.
This is what I'm talking about.
Shit.
This is some butthole clutching action right here.
Can you imagine him? Like I said, probably just calm the whole time. Probably not even thinking about his family. He probably was like the whole time, like, I got this.
Yeah,
I don't know. He was probably at some
He was
point
probably
just
like, this.
well,
Either I'll
this
die in
isn't
an
good.
instant, or I got this.
this isn't good.
I'm going Mach 3. If I hit something, I immediately will explode into fire.
I mean, he was at least thinking this isn't good.
He
not
wasn't. He
ideal.
wasn't just like one-handing it. You know, you drive sometimes.
He was probably
to be
flipping a
fair.
few switches, like, oh, let's try and
Like he certainly
figure
was
this
like,
out.
well, let me make sure. You know, if you're driving on ice, that's the way it was to deal. Just like a slight snow. He's like, oh, it's kind of
It's like
wrong. Let me
pump
make
the
sure.
brake, pump the brake.
In that aircraft, he reached a top speed of Mach 5.74, which was
Pump the brake.
3,989 miles per hour.
It's pretty fast.
No wonder this guy was silent all the time. It's like, I saw God. Like, Jesus, fuck.
Can you imagine going that fast?
No, I cannot. Like, I just cannot wrap my mind around that.
And
When I go 10 miles over the speed limit of 95, I think I'm like going into the stratosphere.
warp speed.
Yeah, like when you're a teenager and someone's like, go 100. And, you know, when you're going that fast,
And then
down
we
the
all
highway,
do it.
Even that's like, oh, shit. You know, like, that's pretty kind of
It is
startling
fast.
because consumer brand cars aren't supposed to be going that fucking fast.
Yeah, exactly. Like there's a whole other reason.
When
we
you
should be
start going
fast.
that fast on the highway in like a consumer brand, like that shit, like things start to get real.
Things start
shaky.
rattling.
Yeah.
You know, it's like we're putting this engineering to the test, just like Neil. We did it.
Yeah, you are in test driver mode at that point.
And while at the center,
Of the universe.
he clocked 2,400 hours, flying hours, while
That's a
test
lot.
piloting all of these planes.
But only a fourth of being an expert, basically, if you go by that 10,000 hour rule. But that's only there, so he's probably got logged.
That's flying hours
But
too.
I think
Who
his-
knows what kind of math that equates to?
Exactly. I'm like, yeah, like time could have been dilated, and also like you can just like multiply it, at that point because it's Neil Armstrong and
Yes.
everything didn't work the first time. It's like, well, yours count as two because
time was dilating from the interstellar travel.
So while Neil Armstrong is test piloting
Let's
planes,
do Einstein.
test piloting planes in
we're
California.
smart enough.
Oh, God, no, we're not. Well, I'm
the
not.
joke.
Over
that's
in
true.
over in the Russia,
In the Russia.
the Soviet Union.
That place.
Oh.
In 19
Me like watching Neil Armstrong go 35,000 miles an hour.
That place with the onion things.
The spires.
They launch in 1957 Sputnik, which is the first man-made thing to orbit our planet.
I like to think it was an accident.
And then a couple months
Drunk
later,
Russian guy threw it really hard, drunk on vodka, big burly. It's made it into space. Tell the Americans.
A little known fact: it was not actually the first. The Roman space program.
That's true.
The little known Roman space program that failed early on.
What are you talking about?
They managed to fling a rock.
We're talking about the Egyptian space program. Who do you think built those pyramids?
okay, well that's debatable. Anywho,
I mean, it was.
then they sent up Sputnik too to seal the deal.
All right, so
Sputnik.
but Sputnik technically, by on all
Yeah.
accounts, the first thing.
In which
that one they
case,
strapped to a bunch of rockets.
at that time, there's a little Cold War brewing, and now we have a little igniter with the space race. The U.S. is looking at that like, well, they're going to send their commie waves all over the planet if we could let them take over space. So they started investing more into their own space program, in which case Neil Armstrong became a member of NASA in 1958 when the company he was a part of got absorbed by them.
You're one of the only people that's been in space. Want to be in our space program?
So they come out with the Mercury program, which,
You've heard of it.
yes, they only allowed military to join.
They put a cyanide pill in a machine gun everything.
And at this point in time, Neil is a civilian test pilot. So he is barred from the Mercury 7, which included people such as John Glenn and Alan Shepard.
I'm sure they let him fly a few things, so just off the record.
Just for fun.
We can tell Neil Armstrong not to fly the ship.
And as I said before, he officially resolved everything with the Navy in 1960. He's off the hook. There's a fishing pun because of the Navy.
Oh, yeah.
Anywho.
Why would you? No, that's terrible.
So in 1961,
Because the Navy is famous for their fishing prowess.
Because boats and water and fish.
yeah,
It's like those aircraft carriers are just like shooting the nuclear nets, like catching whales, reeling them in.
April of 1961, Yuri Gagarin, also of the USSR, first
Poor
man in
guy.
space. And then a few weeks later, John Kennedy comes out and gives a little speech talking about going to the moon, sending an American man, to the moon and safely back.
Someone will make it to the moon by the end of 1970.
And by the end of the decade, which NASA's, here's the end of the decade.
They're
It's
like,
what? God damn, man.
They're all sitting there like drinking, feet up,
Well, that's not happening.
cigarettes going. Neil Armstrong's like, I could totally. No, guys. I could totally make it to the moon. And you're like, that man put the belief in us. He's like, you shoot me in that direction, I will fucking land on it. I don't know if I'll make it back.
And so with the Mercury program, you have John Glenn go up and start orbiting Earth. I think he makes 3 revolutions. I think Yuri only made 1, that bitch. So, you know, we got that on
Getting
the
all the
Ruskies.
radiation and cancer and everything horrible from space.
And see, that's what I love, how each one's just a step to get to the moon. The first Mercury was just basically about what space did to people, like what a person could how they could survive in
The
space.
whole space program is a whole thing.
And then
Like we could go into the whole space program.
and then the Gemini program is about
Gemini.
Yeah.
Gemini.
It's pronounced Gemini.
Yeah.
So they say
Yeah.
Gemini in a
That's
lot.
stupid.
Carl Sagan said Gemini, so
You know what? He wasn't right about everything. He's dead.
I've
dare
heard it
you.
pronounced Gemini. I mean, whatever. Who cares?
It's
It's tomato,
Gemini.
tomato.
Gemini
Doesn't fucking matter.
was about how what the ships could do.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Just like basic mechanics, spacewalks. Like how
Yeah,
to do
it all
that.
makes sense. Like
It's just incremental
experiments.
steps to the moon, basically, and then Apollo was basically then going to the moon.
Yeah, the things that you
vehicles.
drive, the things that you use, like your phones, your computers, like they didn't just work the first time.
So in 1962, we have the Gemini program start, and
What?
well, no, I was just talking about what each step was doing.
Yeah.
But Neil was actually in the Gemini program, so
He was always hanging around.
we're here. 1962.
Make sure that shit don't explode when I go to the moon.
He actually submitted his application late, but a friend of his named Dick Day saw it in the late pile and was like, you know what, Neil's a good guy. Stuffed it in there before anyone found out.
Yeah, Dick Day always stuffed a lot of things.
And so in September of 1962, he got the call that he had, just become an astronaut.
Bring.
He didn't tell anyone. His mother found out after she saw the news conference where he sat there, and is like, "These are our new astronauts." Just like, "That's my boy."
You were supposed to bring me pancakes tonight. What the fuck?
Not a big talker, Neil was.
Going to the moon.
Also, what happened in 1962 early was, in 1961 he had a daughter named Karen, but she developed a brain tumor, or a tumor on her brainstem, and then died of pneumonia in January of 1962. And it's believed that may have been why he was late with the application, because he was dealing with grief over a dying 2-year-old.
Well, probably a good excuse.
That's-
But the cold hard government.
And the cold hard blackness of space.
So anyway,
But they wanted him.
yeah.
We try to say anyway or NEA?
Anyway,
NEA.
he is
NEA.
now training to go to space. He goes out in Gemini 8 with a man named Dave Scott, and what they're trying to do is dock with an unmanned craft that's in orbit, an Agena.
Just like spinning around.
Yeah, they're just trying to dock with it, and he pulls it off. The first ever ship-to-ship dock. Neil Armstrong, put it in the books. But
He fucked that space pussy.
they notice their horizon starts shifting, and then they start rotating a little bit, and they're like, well, that's not good. So they think it's the
All
other
the UFOs show up.
the other spacecraft that's putting them in the spin. So he decides to detach from them.
A spacecraft full of aliens.
In which case they start spinning faster because it's actually a malfunction in one of the boosters that's just permanently going off.
Someone put their gum down.
And so
Just keep shooting.
they start going end over end like once a second in rotation. And they're like 30 seconds away from blacking out when Neil Armstrong just starts flipping a bunch of switches and activates the re-entry mode, which gives them a little bit more control.
It's like when Neo sees the Matrix.
I don't know if it's like that.
He starts flipping switches. 30 seconds for a blackout. Wouldn't even flip into the switches before it was 30 seconds to
Not
blackout.
like that at all, actually.
Yeah, because this sequence of
He's
events
about
happened
to
quite
fucking
quickly.
consciousness, and he's like flipping us.
I thought you said they were spinning for like a while.
No, this is
maybe I should do something about
spin-
this because the spinning is not stopping.
yeah.
Just starts, in emergency
Could be
mode.
like the Matrix.
Basic because
What's
he's,
wrong with comparing Neil Armstrong to Neo Armstrong?
engineer Neil comes in here. He's just like, oh fuck, do something, change the scenario, change it.
Well, Neo was
Because
cool
like
in
you're
the
dead
Matrix.
if you don't do anything.
Yeah.
So he's like, fucking do something, and he did something, save lives.
Yeah. Dave Scott was quite grateful.
Yeah, Dave Scott, two first name man, and the other thing. There was actually five people over there.
Quite unexceptional. Next to the
Dave Scott woke up in his bed like a child.
And so they end up. He writes the plane, whatever spacecraft, and they land in the South China Sea.
Yay!
Yay!
They lived.
Credits roll. But
Smash cut.
so the next step is going to the moon. So in 1967, we have the Apollo program start. Except for Apollo 1 blew up.
It didn't blow up, but it burned. The inside of the capsule burned. Everyone
Yes.
burned alive inside.
Very sad.
Wonderful story.
Very sad.
Yeah.
Ed White, Gus
By
Grissom,
Alan
and some
Shepard.
other guy.
Chaffee.
Yeah. That guy. Very sad. So they don't really do manned missions for a couple years, and then something happens with the rotations where someone got sick. Neil wasn't supposed to pilot 11. I think he was supposed to pilot 9, but his buddy Collins got sick, so they had to get out of rotation, and then he got to 11.
It was like the All-Star game for the NBA. You always have the reserves. And Apollo, they had a few people. NASA, they probably had like 25 guys. They were like switching around, just like
something like that.
Well, no,
Jim
you had
Lovell
backups.
almost made it to the moon.
What you usually had was you had mains and then you had backups.
Yeah.
Well, because every time
case
they
somebody
made it
got
slightly more and slightly more. Like they even thought they might land on the moon, like on Apollo 10, but
Well, they
didn't
give
put
them
enough
fuel.
gas.
Yeah.
Yeah. That must have been a bitch. I'll die on the moon.
But anyway,
But yeah, each one is progressing to this point. So they're like, okay, well, we're definitely going to attempt to land on the moon. So we need to start testing with the lunar
Module.
module. Yeah. So they built a rover to sort of mimic how that would fly. He was 100 feet off the ground when he lost control and had to parachute, and then it exploded.
yeah. There's a video of that.
Yeah, it's crazy. But, eventually they did get to practice with it, and that's probably what helped him in what's coming up shortly. So his partners in crime are going to be Michael Collins and Buzz Aldrin. And word starts getting around. Buzz Aldrin wants to be the first man. He's going to be first. It's him.
First man.
And NASA comes up with this argument of, well, actually, Buzz, the hatch is on the other side. So logically, it would make more sense for Neil to get out first and you second. So Neil Armstrong will actually be the first man on the moon. And Buzz is like, oh, okay. Whereas behind closed doors, they were like, yeah, his ego. Buzz Aldrin's ego will destroy us all if he's the first man on the moon. So let's give it to the reticent man.
I mean, his name is Buzz. Who was named Buzz back then?
He actually legally changed his name to Buzz. It was a childhood nickname, and he made the choice to go by that. So
He probably fucked.
He
Neil's
made that
wife.
choice.
yeah,
He made that choice.
we come to July 16th, 1969, when they exit the Earth and go towards the moon, where they come into not contact with anything.
First contact.
When they meet Vulcans.
While on the way there, Buzz,
We're the Borg. Neil Armstrong single-handedly punches him.
Janet back on Earth is being asked by reporters like, what is he going to say when he first steps out? You know, what's it going to be? And she's quoted as saying,
I love the Democrats.
she says, I have no idea what he's going to say, but I'm sure whatever he says, it'll be worthwhile. Like, wow, good call.
I promise my love to you. That's what he told her he would say. She's sitting there crying. Everyone was like, that was the most amazing thing you thought.
I got the best wife. It's the first thing that he told her he would say.
I'm the first man on the moon as a wife.
So a couple days later, they're at the moon, and
Having a beer.
Buzz and Neil go down in the lunar module. Colin stays back, and on July 20th, they touch down. But as they're coming in, Neil notices that the ground that fucking NASA had picked out for them to land on is covered in rocks.
Full of sharks.
So he decides to take her out and find a more suitable landing zone. And NASA's sort of freaking out. It's like, you know you only have enough fuel for a little bit, right?
Yeah, it's like you can really go for like 20 more seconds. And then you have to take off or you're going to die in space. That's fine. We got it.
He lands with only 30 seconds of fuel left. Everyone at NASA, wipes the sweat off their brow because
Lights 50 cigarettes.
they landed, and you get the wonderful "the eagle has landed" line, which I actually never knew was from him, or from Apollo 11. I always thought it was right. It's been referenced so many goddamn times that I thought I lost it.
That's how badass he was. Like, the Eagles landed. They're like, we didn't even give that to Cody.
God, he's just got some great lines, Neil. Oh my God.
Yeah, it's like, put it in the history books right now. Put it in the history book. I'm telling you about it.
And we'll find out what happens next time.
They open the door and the eagle flies off. Immediately dies in the vacuum of space.
And they all died at the end.
Yes.
Yep, don't worry about it.
Don't worry about next time.
Yeah, we've never made it to the moon. Yeah, don't actually, you know what? Don't worry about next time.
There is no next time.
I mean,
Next time, Armstrong. That's what they used to call him.
there's
We'll
only
eventually get
there's only one time, and that is now. There is no next time.
God. And now listen to us as we tell you the incantation.
So I guess we'll get to the shill stuff.
Yeah, chill.
I hope so.
All right, so give us 5 stars on iTunes, even if we're not worth it. Just delude yourself into thinking we're worth it and do it anyway. And that would always go a long way for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Give us 5 empty space vacuums.
Give us 5
Lunar modules.
5 dead children. Ooh, no.
Ooh.
No.
Dead astronauts.
What?
Oh, I guess we was going after Karen.
I understand, but
It was misguided. If you like listening,
the heart was there.
but you also like watching, well then, hey, guess what? We're on YouTube. You can watch us and judge our appearances and then bully us to suicide. I keep making that joke, and if anyone takes offense to that, well, guess what? I'm drawing attention to the fact that
we're raising
social
awareness.
media in online bullying is a real thing.
Look at Robin Williams.
Until society decides to do something about it, I'm going to keep making jokes about it because that's how you keep drawing attention to the things that you want to change.
Hey.
Boom, fuck you.
That's
All
why
right.
I draw attention to the McDouble at McDonald's. Something I
Exactly,
want to
folks.
change.
Got to get that price back down to $1. All right.
I'm like, I got. You know what? I'll go to the moon if I have to.
Follow us on the social media platforms, Instagram and Twitter. We post full episodes on IGTV. So,
Yeah, you sure do. Yeah.
Word of mouth is the best advertising that we could ever get. So if you want to support us, that's the way to do it.
Use your mouth holes,
For good.
not for ill.
You can email us at historichole@gmail.com with any questions, comments, or concerns.
Or reservations.
professional inquiries.
And as always, oil.
Yeah, I
Yes.
understand what you're saying. I'm like, yeah, so this Coupons. I was like, no,
Oil
you can't.
coupons. I actually
Yeah, well,
forgot the word coupons.
Yeah, I was like, what are you saying? It's like, and as always, just send us oil.
Just send us straight oil, actually.
Does any of you live in Dubai? And actually clicked on our podcast.
Yeah, if any, Arabian princes or any, like,
We would love
Michael's
to be knights.
wealthy Saudis that have oil money want to, like,
Michael's pretty enough.
produce our show.
Yeah.
We don't mind slipping it in a little bit of propaganda every
Yeah,
now and then.
I'll be a princess.
That's to America, right?
Yeah.
Am I right?
Yeah. Dude, someone bring us some napalm. We'll do the rest.
Just like Neil. All right. So, I guess
Napalm Neil.
our statement of modernity for this week. God, man, there's so much. Shit moves fast,
There's
man.
so many
There's so many
statements.
statements that you
Not
could
3,989
So many
miles per hour
you
fast.
could come up with. And so our statement of modernity for this week is: who knew the royal family would be such elitists?
Thanks, Oprah.
Life is full of holes. Enter wisely.
Bye.
Don't you fuck this up, Stedman.